It's November 8th. We're back in the same spot again, and I'll talk about that. But first, I've got an update on a buck that 5 or 6 years from now is going to be a definite target. Oh, I'd feel guilty, I think. This little buck, this little button buck that I've been talking about that hangs around, I'm 100% convinced that he is seeking out our company. Because when we got here, we stopped in a little brush pile and put our coat of silence outerwear on, and we're getting ready to climb into the tree. Well, Carson made it all the way up, hung all the camera gear, and then I started to climb, and he stood up from his bed not more than 15 yards away from where we'd gotten dressed. He's right at the base of the tree, right on the other end of that little brush pile that we were standing in. So then he gets up and starts browsing, and he'd look up at us, and he'd go back to browsing again. Well, now he's bedded again 15 yards away in this scrape, this little scrape down below us. We've taken to calling him Thor, because we figured that was the most sarcastic name we could come up with. You know, like the most manly buck name for a deer that's the least manly that we've ever seen. Poor little Thor. He's the one that doe fawn we're certain would reject, because apparently every other animal on this ridge has rejected him, and we're the only ones who seem to have at least accepted him to some level. So we've got a pet buck. That's the highlight. I mean, if nothing else happens today, we got something. But anyway, we're back to the same spot. Looking through the camera pictures. I get them uploaded, downloaded, whatever, every night at midnight. I guess it's uploaded from the stealth cameras. And the one camera did confirm what I've been thinking the whole time, and that is that the Jordan buck is living a little bit that direction. Like, we're right on the fringe. We're on the southeast fringe of his range. He was out at 5:30 yesterday morning working a scrape a few hundred yards away in that direction. You know, maybe by the time we get deeper into the rut, we'll start hunting him a little bit more aggressively, but it's super hard to get into any of the other spots where I think he's living because the access is so tough. Like, there's really not a safe wind. And then to go in there, you know, I think he'd see us or hear us. I think he's living in a little valley here about 200-300 yards away, and I don't think he's moving very far. I think he's been there for several months. So Thor, I don't know, Thor's not sleeping. He's still awake, paying attention, trying to stay alive. So today might be the day. We know he's around, like I said, and the only way we're gonna kill him is to hunt him. So we're back in the same spot.
Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails is brought to you by Redneck Blinds, Code of Silence Apparel, Hunt Stand Pro Whitetail App, Whitetail Institute, Research Equals Results, B3 Releases, XO Broadheads, Exact Sights, Muddy Outdoors Tree Stands, Stealth Cam Trail Cameras, and Hoyt.
Jordan and I were hunting, gosh, maybe it was opening day even. We saw this buck further up this ridge, probably about 250 yards or so. There's another tree stand. We were out on there. He's a really, really nice 3-year-old. And I've said it a few times on the show, but I've got some really good 3-year-olds. And this guy's definitely one of them. It'll be fun to see in a couple of years if he'll stick around, what that buck can turn into. So the question is, and Carson asked me, what would you have done if that was the buck we're after? Yeah, because he was, I don't know, 45, 50 yards out there, too far to risk any kind of shot. And I would have grunted when he started dropping off the back of the ridge on the back side of that food plot. I would have grunted at him. And either he'd have come back or he wouldn't have, but either way I wouldn't have spooked him. Because if I'd have grunted too soon, and we've talked about this a couple episodes back, but if I would have grunted too soon, he would have just locked up and looked down in here. You gotta get him going away from you, looking away, distracted, moving in a different direction. And then when you grunt, then they have to come back and look. So anyway, that was good. It's nice to finally see something older than a year and a half old buck here. That other one, I guess, that ran through here chasing that doe a few days back was I figured that buck was older too, but yeah, 9 o'clock. We got a long day ahead of us, so I better get back to keeping watch. It's 4:15. Got about 45 minutes, a little bit more. It's been pretty slow. We had the bobcat. That was good for a little excitement. It was funny, after he went past us, we sort of lost track of him. Then all of a sudden we heard a bunch of brush crashing, and we looked over and he was on a squirrel, chasing a squirrel. The squirrel got to the tree just before the bobcat, so the bobcat came up empty,
And Bob is not going to be eating squirrel for dinner tonight. But it was cool to watch how he hunted his way through here. That buck that we saw at 9 this morning is the only buck we've seen all day, other than Thor, our buddy. And we haven't even seen Thor since he left. He hasn't come back. I think we're going to do the same thing. We're going to leave and not come back. Oh, I'm sure we'll come back. We are going to take a break, though. That's 3 back-to-back all-day sits in this spot. The wind has been kind of fluky, kicking all over the place, but it's cleaned up now and it's coming from the northwest like it was supposed to. It's just interesting how the sun hitting these valleys had such a big effect on the direction of the localized wind right here at this spot. But everything's perfect now. Only one thing would make it more perfect, and that would be for Mr. Big to show up. And if he doesn't come tonight, it'll be some other day down the road, because we're going to keep hunting him. He's the only target we've got. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's that 8-pointer, that older 8-pointer. So either one of those would be good. Don't know for sure what we're going to do tomorrow. I know we're not coming back here. We need to give this spot a break, and I think the wind is going to be from the complete opposite direction. Well, I mean, as much as it changed up here, it doesn't really seem to matter. But the forecasted wind, I believe, is from the south, maybe, or the southeast. So we're going to try some different spots. We will start squeezing in on this buck from the other side of his range. We've kind of stayed out of there. Just have to be really careful because we know he's around somewhere. You know, the stealth cam showed us that from yesterday morning, and I'm sure we'll get a few more random pictures of him scattered around, you know, this part of the farm. So it doesn't make any sense to be too aggressive because time is still on our side. So if anything else comes out yet this evening, we'll show it to you here at the end of the video. Otherwise, look for another one tomorrow. We're going to keep posting these every day. Every day until either I die or that deer does. Somebody's going to have to pay the price for all this work. Now, I appreciate you joining us. And we'll see you right back here again soon for the next episode of Hoyt's Bowhunting Whitetails. And remember to always dream big.